In just hours, Donald Trump will return to power as the 47th U.S. president, and many on this side of the border will watch anxiously to see whether he intends to follow through on his tariff threat. Here to talk more about what Canada's response could look like is David McNaughton, who was Canada's ambassador to the U.S. during the first Trump administration and now sits on the Prime Minister's Council of Canada-U.S. Relations. Mr. McNaughton, thank you so much for being here this morning.
No problem. Delighted to be here.
Well, there's new reporting out this morning that Donald Trump may stop short of imposing new tariffs on day one. Given your past experiences with the Trump administration, if you had to put money on it, do you think tariffs are coming today?
Well, I don't know whether they're going to come today. I suspect they are definitely coming. I think, what I discovered in my years in Washington when Donald Trump was president was never to put money on anything that, he said he was going to do, because you never knew whether he was going to do it or not. So it's the only thing about Donald Trump which is predictable is his unpredictability. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see.
Do you think that Trump may want to wait for a new Canadian leadership to negotiate carve-outs for Canada? Just how worried are you about the leadership vacuum in Ottawa?
Well, there's no question that the leadership vacuum doesn't put us in the best position possible, because one of the reasons that we were so successful in the renegotiation of the NAFTA was because we had, all of the premiers, the business community, even the opposition parties in Ottawa, we all worked together to achieve the result we did. And the problem right now is, with that kind of a vacuum, I'm sure Donald Trump is just thinking, oh boy, this is perfect. I can divide and conquer and everything's going to be great.
Well, you mentioned there the renegotiation of NAFTA, which you were there for. You were also there for the tariffs on steel and aluminum. What do you think will be different in negotiations this time?
Well, I think the reality is that Donald Trump, the Kuzma USMCA, whatever you want to call it, was actually a deal that Trump, signed on for, and at the time said it was the best deal ever. What he's talking about now, when he announced the 25% tariffs that he was going to put them on, he said it was all because of the border problem and fentanyl and everything else. And so it's hard to know exactly what's going on in his mind. I doubt that they will have 25% tariffs across the board. But as I said, you really never know until he actually, does whatever he's going to do. I mean, there were a couple of times when I was in Washington when, we thought tariffs were going to come in, or he was going to do something, and all of a sudden at the last minute somebody got to him and he changed his mind. So it's not easy, but there's no question that a 25% across the board tariff on everything going from Canada and the United States would be devastating for our country.
We're learning that the list of preliminary list, I should say, of counter tariffs from Canada will target about $37 billion worth of goods. I'm just curious, given the size of our economy and the fact that we can't inflict the same amount of damage that the U.S. can on our economy, do you really think $37 billion will send a message south of the border and be effective?
Well, I think it'll be effective over time. I think that nobody should really expect if Trump puts tariffs in and we retaliate, that this is going to end anytime soon. It's going to be, I think, months before we can resolve this. But we can't simply sit back and let him, bully us and not do anything about it. And I think some people have talked about going and saying, well, why don't we put some things, some trade concessions on the table? And the problem with that, given the lack of leadership in this country right at the present moment, is that he would just take that as a sign of weakness and look for more. So I'm afraid that we're going to be in for, I suspect, a fairly lengthy process here, which will be difficult, no question whatsoever. But I don't think we've got any choice. We can't simply let him bully us around and do nothing. So, difficult time.
Former Ambassador David McNaughton, thank you so much for being here this morning. Really appreciate your insight.
No problem at all. Thanks.